AITA for telling my son he has to go to university, get a job, or get out. My wife and I have 3 children. They are 17, 15, and 10. My oldest has no intention to do anything after high school. At least none he has made clear to us. So I gave him the same ultimatum my parents gave me. Either go to university, get a job, or GTFO. I chose to travel the world for 2 years. I had a lot of sailing experience and my father had a lot of friends in that community, so I was able to sail around the world earning money and working my ass off. It wasn't a 2-year vacation. My family is well off and I could have chosen an indolent life. But I knew I would be a disappointment if I chose that. So when I got back I enrolled in university and eventually went to work for the family business. My wife thinks that I'm being unfair to our poor baby boy, throwing him out into the world. I'm not. We have the money to pay for his university. We have the money for all 3 kids. My middle child will probably end up with a good chunk of it in her pocket. She is on track for an academic as well as a golf scholarship. The 10-year-old is 10 and who knows what he's going to do. But he knows the plan. We have not been secretive about this rule. My wife and I agreed that we would raise productive members of society before we got engaged. Her and my son think I'm being cruel to expect him to fend for himself at 18. I have offered him multiple opportunities to do other things. He has no interest in anything beyond his computer. I am at a loss. I don't think I'm wrong for expecting an adult to adult. My parents have already told him that they will not be giving him any money if he isn't in school or working. My wife is threatening to use her salary to support him. I don't have any say in that. I won't actually kick him out of the house, but I will stop paying his bills and cut off our grocery budget by 20%. If she wants to work so he doesn't have to, there is nothing I can do about that. It's not fending for oneself when the parents tell the kids, go to university. We pay for it. You stay under our roof or work. Keep your money to yourself. You stay under our roof or choose to do nothing with your life and you'll have to fend for yourself. Not at all. You don't even give him ultimatums about what to study or what job to take. He could bum around from major to major or from minimum wage job to another, while figuring out what he wants to do with his life. With all expenses paid, he's not going to get sudden inspiration on how to spend his adult life by staying home and doing nothing. NTA. For actually parenting your kid. Edit. Typos. Edit 2. I just had the realization. I'm sure had I read the other comments I would notice people noticed that too. That your offer either forces your son to stay home and work, study, or leave house and work. He might as well choose the easiest solution, which is not leave the house to struggle and then default to taking the first job available. NTA assuming that a trade school, apprenticeship, or community college would also be acceptable. NTA. But all your efforts will be pointless if you and your wife can't get on the same page. I think you need to talk this out further with her. Try and make her see you're helping him in the long run by making a firm boundary on this. NTA. But at the same time, it doesn't really sound like you're helping him understand his options. You're just giving him a list of things you think he should do based off your own childhood. It's been 20 years. The job landscape has changed. And the opportunities and careers available to you when you were his age are going to be different than the ones available today, even if they share the same title. Yeah, he might be lazy, but he might also just be overwhelmed. Knows what he doesn't want to do, and has no idea where to look to figure out what he does want to do. Could also add in a sprinkle of being afraid to fail at things if he tries. Especially if he's already being looked at as a failure before he has even begun. Which is a valid concern based off how you talk about him. Actually talk to him and listen. Don't talk at him. Try to step back and look at the future state he wants to be in. And focus less on the how right now. If it's too overwhelming, it's hard to be ambitious when you don't have a goal. And he needs to create one right now. IDK How helpful career counselors are for teens when it comes to collecting their thoughts and building out their goals. But as a college dropout, I found talking to one incredibly helpful at the beginning of my career to get myself into the right mindset in pursuing growth, and I make more than all of my friends who didn't go into STEM and hopped into college and graduate school without direction. What kind of life does he envision for himself in the future? Is he looking to make enough money to live off of and have a savings account, but wants more personal time? Or does he want to run a business someday? Does he want the ability to travel the world? Or does he prefer to stay in the States? Does he like the idea of working on a team and managing others? Or does he prefer to be an individual contributor? Does he like working on computers? Or is it just a hobby? Does he have any strengths that he can lean in on? Break down the big task of figuring out the future and a career into smaller tasks and help him understand what his options are besides a nebulous, go to college, and get a job. NTA. Does your wife really think it's feasible to support him for the rest of her life? What's gonna happen to him when both of you are gone? It'll be a far worse fate for him at that age than right now when he's still young. How is his mental health? NTA. I'd ask your wife, how will he survive in the future if his mother isn't supporting him, and what kind of example is he setting for his siblings? If you feel generous, then offer a gap year to decide what he wants to do, but he has to do volunteer work in the community so many hours a month. NTA. So have you discussed what future does your wife envision him having by the time he is 22, 26, 30, etc.? Does she see him still living in his room, always on his computer, with her still working to support him? Does she plan to keep working after Op retires because eldest son still has her covering all things? Or possibly he could move into your basement if you have one, where he never leaves except to grab food. And all those bottles of yellow liquid surrounding him are not lemonade. You have given him very reasonable choices. Decide there is a path he wants to take and start university or even community college. Most of at least the first and likely second year are common courses, and if he decides to pay less and can transfer his credits to a different school, all is good. Or a good accredited trade school if he leans in that direction. He gets a job and saves his earnings, or whatever your agreement requires, but can still live at home. So he works for a couple years doing different things, then goes to school of some sort. He decides he can make it in his own with no help, or with your wife now working solely to support your eldest in a way he will become accustomed to. So she pays his rent, his phone, his car, his gas, all his insurance, gives him spending money, and does grocery shopping for him. Assuming he finds a girl that likes his essentially freeloading setup, then your wife can support both of them along with any kids that come along the way. Of course, if your wife is supporting your son when you are ready to retire and see the world, she won't likely be able to go with you, as she needs her money for him. To me, your wife may need to see for herself what supporting him long term will be. And do stick to your guns that only money son gets is what she earns. Not from your retirement savings. Not the oldest's college fund. Not from her parents or the other kids' college funds. I wish you the best op. Talk to him more. Give him a reasonable time frame to figure it out, and also offer him counseling if he wants to talk to a career coach or a therapist or something. Say he turns 18 and graduates around the same time in June. Gives him until the end of summer to figure out if he wants to go for work, more schooling, or some other definable option. 8 weeks of downtime wouldn't hurt anyone, but it give him a little breathing room and could potentially be a compromise with your wife. I knew I would be going to college because that's what I wanted to do. But I remember when I was a senior in school, the last 6 months were pretty hectic and I didn't have much time to reflect on what else I was doing. If I hadn't already known that I wanted to go to school, I doubt I would have had the mental headspace to reflect on what next. I know sometimes it looks like kids are doing nothing important, but if you don't have too many problems with him in other ways, assume he is busy in ways that you aren't seeing. AITA judgment. Thought this was relationship advice instead of AITA. Nah. NTA. This is barely an ultimatum. It's just offering him a range of options for the next stage of his life. With what seems to be quite a generous amount of support. It's a good deal. It is concerning that he doesn't seem to have any aspirations. Does he have interests or hobbies that might lead towards a job or field of study? Nah. But I really think you should talk to your wife about why she changed her mind so suddenly. You keep saying, he seems fine, when people ask about your son's mental health. I'm curious, does your wife know something about your son's current condition that you don't? Maybe. And perhaps this isn't what you want to hear. Your son is struggling more than you know and could use a moment to collect himself. It happens. For example, I graduated high school with an objectively high GPA, but my mental health was abysmal that year. People who seem fine are not always fine. Edit to add. I'm not saying your son should do nothing. If this is the case, there are intensive outpatient programs if he's truly struggling. But this is something to explore. You are not asking him to fend for himself at 18. You only want him to get a full-time job. Big difference. NTA. Like, not even pay rent? Just get a job? NTA. Are you good with part-time work? Just as long as he earns some money? He needs to know there's a reason and a benefit for being a part of society. Not just that's the way it works. Usually it's the parents' fault for not raising the kid in a way that lets them look forward to the future. It sounds like he's depressed and not everyone's brains work the same. He might just not be ready and needs a little more guidance. He's only 17. It took me until I was 22 to gain prospects and move out. Because I was severely depressed. My parents made me pay rent until I was ready to go to college. Which is a way to get him to work without kicking him out. Remember, the kid didn't ask to be a part of this society. Give him some time, but keep encouraging him to find what he wants to do with his life. He just sounds like he isn't ready for the real world yet. And that's okay. Everyone moved at their own pace. Emo. Nah. NTA. Part of parenting is teaching your kids how to fend for themselves. NTA. But if he likes his computer, maybe talk about avenues for progress he can make via being on his computer? NTA. We all have to face this as we come of age. Hell, you're willing to let them stay rent-free? More than many other kids ever get. He can't do nothing. You are parenting a young adult exactly as you need to in order to help him understand how things work. If she is still upset with you, have her sit down and read the story of Joel Guy Jr. You're not making him fend for himself. LMAO up offered to pay for college and said he could still live with you as long as he gets a job. He just can't do nothing. OMG. Inta, what's his long-term plan? Get a job. Or go to school, or pretty much everyone options after HS.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Haircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.